from Middlesbrough to Liverpool, Yorkshire in the northeast, and Media City here in Salford. We need to do what we can to help drive these as hubs of innovation. We need to connect these assets and clusters much better across the north over the future. And that connectivity is increasingly described in terms of physical connectivity, but also digital connectivity, internet connections, technology and innovation. And as we said in the transport stream earlier, we need to understand how we move from transport as users to transport as people, as consumers of transport. By 2020, the volume of global internet traffic will be about 95 times that of 2005. Many businesses are expressing a desire for faster internet speeds. Recent surveys by the CBI says 81% of businesses want a faster internet speed. And despite the increased opportunities for flexible home working, we need to make sure that the physical and digital infrastructure is right for the north in the future. And technology will be essential for delivering a better north going forwards. One of the first things we're doing in terms of technology is our integrated and smart travel programme. So again, in the transport stream this morning, we talked about the lack of an Oyster card for the north of England, or an Oyster card even for Greater Manchester. Oyster card is yesterday's technologies, with apologies to Matthew from Transport for London, who's still in the room. What we in the north want is a contactless smart travel system which works with whatever means people want to pay by, whether that be debit card, credit card, a smart card, a smartphone, a wristwatch, an implant in their retina, whatever comes forward in the future. And over the next 3 years, we will be rolling this out across the north of England, starting with the rail network and moving on to bus network. Allied to that, we'll be implementing open data sources to allow more joined up information across the north of England, particularly disruption information. And that will be backed by a fair price promise, which will mean that anybody in the north will get the fairest price possible for any journey on any particular day they move right across the north. But while we can implement this infrastructure and collect the live data, we'll be looking for third-party innovators, many of whom are based here in Manchester and around the north of England, to make the best use of that and take it to the next level. The people who will really make use of this are probably sat in tech hubs like this we are today, and we want to make the data open to them and see what they can do with it. At its core, Transport for the North is thinking strategically to develop transport in a new way, which allows industries to flourish, businesses to grow, and in particular, the digital sector to be at the forefront of that. And taking forward our map of the dots, our transport plan and our plans for interventions in transport over the next 30 years are based not around traditional transport corridors like the M62 or the West Coast Main Line. They're based around economic ecosystems, a series of corridors, development corridors right across the north of England, where if we link those dots more effectively together, you will get better collaboration, you will get better business growth, and you will get better digital and physical connectivity. Digital industries in the northeast will benefit from improvements along the A1 and the A19. In the Sheffield City region alone, over 21,000 people are employed in the digital industries, but their connections to Greater Manchester at the moment are very poor. That's why improving the rail connections and the road connections using a new Transpennine tunnel will be really important over the lifetime of this transport plan. Our revised proposals for the tunnel look at a very short tunnel, not the long tunnel that was announced in 2015, and major improvements at either end. That's on a corridor approach. It's not a big bang project. It is a real means of connecting two of the great powerhouses of the north that have been too far apart for too long. A multi-million-pound partnership between Sheffield University and Siemens as part of the MindSphere Innovation Network makes data available to improve teaching and research collaborations. Siemens have also invested in a MindSphere lounge, which can act as a space for industry partners to collaborate with academics. Universities and the higher education and further education sectors are key to the future of the North. So our message to the digital sector today is that we intend for you to make the most of our plans, and we are trying to design our plans for your benefit. Those plans come together in our strategic transport plan, which will be published at the early part of next year, alongside a 30-year investment programme for transport across the north of England. The most significant part of that plan is the scheme known as Northern Powerhouse Rail. You may know it as well as HS2 or Crossrail for the North. It is the new trunk rail network to connect the North's 6 largest cities and Manchester Airport and the key centres in between by a fast and reliable and effective rail network. It puts the population within 60 minutes of 4 or more major cities of Manchester Airport to 1.3 million. It's 10,000 at this moment in time, and most of those live in the middle around Huddersfield. It spreads the benefit of connectivity right across the North. It quadruples the number of businesses on those dots that I said before in the capabilities that are within 90 minutes of 4 or more of the other cities and Manchester Airport. And it will bring Manchester Airport within 90 minutes reach of 3 million more people. We'll be submitting the high-level business case to government at the end of this year, and we expect to see the start of delivery of this network by 2024. So the point that I really want to make today, and John would have said had he been here, probably a lot better, is that there is now an open door for innovators to walk through, to invest in the skills that we need, knowing that we have a plan to deliver long-term transport infrastructure, to give businesses the support that they need to know that they can grow and invest in the North, and to give our young people the opportunity to know that they can grow in the North. The North is really an exciting place to be now, but it will become even better as part of our plans, and digital will be at the heart of that major improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that. And I'm sure John would agree with me that you did him proud. So thank you very much for stepping in and for doing that. So we now have a panel that I'm really, really excited about, a panel of local industry leaders to really touch on a lot of the discussions we've had today. It's going to be chaired by Brian Click, editor of Computer Weekly, and Computer Weekly are one of our media partners today for Supercharging. So thank you, Brian, for that. And can I ask Brian to take it from here? Maybe join me on the stage, invite the rest of the panel. Just say we have Slido going, Brian. So if people want to ask questions, please do to the panel. And Brian, you can pick that up on the laptop on the table. And keep your tweeting going. And Brian, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sue. Good afternoon, everybody. Lovely to come along and see everybody here. My first time in Manchester Science Park. My bad for that, for admitting to that. But you know, one of the great privileges of my job at Computer Weekly is obviously writing about one of the most arguably the most global of industries, and getting to meet people from around the world who work in this in the technology sector. It's always interesting. One of the things you find with that, when you talk, for example, to people from Silicon Valley and they start talking about, I say to them, what are the issues that you see in Silicon Valley? And they start talking about their issues. They believe that Silicon Valley issues are synonymous with world issues. I've got to admit, we're a little bit guilty as well of it. I mean, Computer Weekly is based around Liverpool Street in London. We're right at the cusp of Shoreditch, the sort of the home of tech startups in London, and just north of the city of London, which is such a hotbed of technology. And I'm very aware that when we in London and the southeast talk about technology issues, we're probably talking about them as if the issues we see are synonymous with the UK. But of course, one of the great benefits of technology is it's personal and it's local, and the sense of place is often absent from lots of discussions about technology. So I'm really pleased to get an opportunity to come and talk with some people from the North who we will talk about their issues in technology in the North, but I suspect probably a lot of what they talk about will be very common for people all across the UK as well. So can I ask my panel to come up and join me? Lawrence Jones, the Chief Exec of UK Fast, Alison Kennedy, Director of the Hartree Centre, and Elizabeth Vega, Global CEO for Informed Solutions. And please welcome up. I'll work out the technology later. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for taking the time to come along and talk today. you're all here as champions of the North in many ways, as much as you are champions of technology. Let's start off, I'll start off with a question, but if also each of you can just give a quick introduction to yourselves as well as part of that, and introduce the audience to your organisations for those who don't know you. But perhaps you can give us your perspective on what technology means to the North and what it can bring to the North. And perhaps Elizabeth, if we start with you.
Yep. We're headquartered in Greater Manchester. And we have, in the last 10 or so years, been growing globally. This year, we were privileged to win the Queen's Award for Innovation, and we're the only Northwest-based organisation to have worked in that digital transformation space and be recognised in that way. Also supported through Tech UK, we were actually acknowledged also at the World ICT Conference for Excellence. So thank you to our industry body for putting us forward. Our specialism is in large complex, including making physical infrastructure smart. And some of the things that we've been talking about today, for example, integrated transport services, etc. We have been working with the Department of Transport nationally, and we work also on other types of infrastructure, which is in nuclear and in oil and gas, and their physical assets and built environment. So I hope that I can contribute to today's conversation.
Okay. Awesome. I'm the director of the Hartree Centre, which is a supercomputing centre based about 20 miles from here. We're based at the Daresbury National Laboratory. We're a department of the UK's National Laboratory. And we have a unique focus, which is really taking all the technology, all the expertise that's been developed by UK science and looking at what are some of the industry challenges. How can we help industry to solve these challenges by using the resources that we've got in the UK, both infrastructure and expertise, bringing together all the technology to solve some of these challenges, primarily through proof of technology and proof of concept projects with particular industries. Now, it's not a coincidence that we're based in the north of England. A lot of the industry that we're working with, as I say, comes out of the expertise that we have in science. So we work with engineering firms, chemical firms, a whole range of traditional industry for which the North has really strong skills and is a very good place to be based.
Hi, Lawrence Jones. Run a couple of businesses, the main one being UK Fast, cloud business. We've got customers all over the world. You'd think from our name it was probably predominantly in the UK, but 5% of our customers are global. But we're a national business, so I think it's a good question actually. We've got 11% market share in Manchester, but around 3% across the country. But the majority of our customers actually are down south. So why are we here? I mean, it's a good question. Manchester's been a very, very good city to us. I came here when I was 16 years old as a musician, and I've morphed through various different transitions in my life, from recording studios to servers. And what Manchester's always had is this creative element running through it, this passion, this innovation. And I think that's been secret to our success, is always going back to the drawing board, never thinking we're good enough. And I think this is something that's inherent in areas like Manchester, in pockets where we do feel that we are, I suppose you've got London as the main city of the UK. It is easy to feel that, and we must try harder. Warren Avis once said, when he was talking about Hertz, he said the great thing about being number 2 is that we have to try harder. And I think that's why cities like Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, why we are doing this the way we are doing this, and we're trying that extra little bit more than everybody else.
Okay. I'd really like to try and get a sense of, what it is that makes the North attractive for digital companies, for technology companies. In Manchester, certainly, digital has been a growth industry for a number of years, and obviously there's a great history in Manchester with University of Manchester, Alan Turing, the first commercial computer being developed here, among many other achievements. But what are the real challenges and hopefully potential solutions for Manchester and North in trying to attract technology companies and technology investments to the region? Liz?
I think Manchester, going back to, I think, the point that Julian made, has a history of industry and also creativity. Innovation in industry, but of course this is the next generation of the Industrial Revolution, as they say. So it has a pedigree and it has a culture of it, which is always an advantage. I think it is also created for itself an identity as part of that digital economy. And of course we now have GCHQ, which is a very, very important part of the picture if we're actually looking at creating integrated transport systems, integrated medical systems, health tech, etc. Again, from experience, you can develop a test tube model of something, but when you're actually talking about deploying it, it needs to scale, it needs to be resilient, and it needs to be secure. And so we actually have the privilege of having all of those key ingredients with the universities, with people that are prepared to invest in building capability in the local economy, and most recently, the last piece of the puzzle, with actually having a cybersecurity centre right on our doorstep. And I think collaboration will be key to leveraging all of those opportunities for all of us.
Alison, collaboration, obviously a big part of this. What's your take on these sort of challenges?
I think Manchester is doing very well. I think that the building blocks are all in place, but I think we could be doing better. I think one of the things, as the director of the centre, one of the things that disappoints me is the small number of applicants that we get for jobs who come from this area. So I think the region has to be doing more to retain many of the students who study in the region, to encourage them to stay on and work here rather than going to London or to other areas. Similarly, I think with companies, if people come in to work in the area, they don't just want a good job in the area, they want to be able to look ahead and think, well, if I put down roots here and I decide to move on in 2 or 3 or 5 years' time, will there be other companies round about? So I think we have to do more on clustering. I think we have to be more outgoing, more confident, and go out and sell our region, because it is a great place to work and there are so many opportunities. I think we have to be less apologetic about being the second city and try and put forward the reasons why this really is the best place to work. It's never second best. It's best in a number of things. And if we're confident about it, then we'll make it happen.
I see something slightly different. We are very fortunate. We get 1,600 people on average applying to come and work at our business every month. And considering we were a small business, started a 2-person outfit, the spare bedroom on Oxford Road, and we started with a £5,000 investment to get to a privileged position like that. It's a huge honour to be at the helm of a business like that. So, and a lot of those people are from our universities. So I think what we find is university graduates now they're in a strong position. Anybody who's technical or who's worth their weight in gold now expects more from the businesses that they don't want to work for, that they want to work for. So yes, we've got daft things like slides in each of our buildings, but it goes deeper than that. I think there are things that we have in our culture and the way we operate our business make us really, really special. And I think over a period of time, we managed to retain and keep clients. We do keep clients as well, but we managed to retain our people. And I think that's one of the most important things is that if we can learn from success stories, because we're not alone, there are many businesses like ours out there. I don't think we have a problem with universities. I don't think we have a problem retaining talent in Manchester. I think what we do have a problem with is that we're not creating enough of it. And that's why one of the reasons why we've started our own little version of what you guys do, I suppose, up here at Tech Manchester, got Trish there. We've got our own incubator centre that we've not even charged anyone to come and use. We just literally, if we think you're good enough, come on in. And in fact, most of the businesses have come in. There's only a few, but most of them we've invested in. In fact, one is a tiny little business today. I took a 50% stake in it, funded it, and it's just done its first £1.4 million sale. So I think there's talent here. I think we need to encourage it. But more importantly, we as business leaders, we need to make sure that we're growing our own talent. I was hugely impressed walking around our business today with somebody from Megabyte came up for an interview and a chat. And I gave them a show around the building, and I went into our education area, which is probably a similar side to this, and it was full of apprentices. And there were a group of apprentices that were being trained by our full-time teachers. We have 5 full-time teachers, and there were about 20 of them all sat there doing their coursework on their computers with things going on the walls, and it was just so inspirational. And this is less than half a mile from here. So we've taken it. 10 years ago, I sat on panels like this, and I walked away realizing we had a skill shortage 10 years ago. And thought, well, we have to do something about it. And we don't have a skill shortage in UK Fast. And we're doing something about it and educating our teams and attracting new people in. So I would just say, rather than stress about it, do something yourself and get involved with organisations like us. And that's how we make Manchester a stronger place. And that's how we make the whole of the UK a stronger economy.
Interestingly, you're quite bullish about skills and talent availability. Certainly in the south, and even in London, it's one of the big issues that people face: skill shortages, digital skill shortages. Often it's not just that there's a shortage of enough people, but often it's a shortage of people with the right skills for building a business. Alison was slightly more doubtful about it. I'll come back to Liz to start on this one as well. Do you agree with Lawrence about that you don't have an issue here with talent? To what degree do you feel you have or don't have the right skills available in the north? Are there enough people in the north to satisfy the growth that you need for your business and the growth that you want to see for the region as a digital region as well?
Can I just add to that? Yeah. I did say there is a shortage, right, but we have to take advantage of this ourselves. We have to take ownership ourselves. The government aren't going to be able to fix this overnight. It's something we have to do.
Fair point. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Liz.
Okay. Well, I have the privilege of being invited to contribute to the Greater Manchester digital strategy and digital skills strategy. And I think there are a number of moving parts to it. The first one is the university curricula. I think if there is a greater collaboration with the universities to design courses where the materials, the subject matter being taught is relevant to employability, I think that's very helpful. I also think work readiness is important, giving people placement. Yes, of course, apprenticeships, but everyone may very well have a different career path. Some of the new digital academies as well. I was privileged to be on the board of governors of UTC and Media City to illustrate the point. Again, looking, and that helps social mobility as well. People that may not always have the chance to go to university to have fulfilling and well-paid jobs in the newer economies. We also have an informed academy. We have realised that however smart our young people are, and we have one of our graduates here today, they need to learn skills that are relevant to the role that you're asking them to do. And also, I think you need to make quite explicit how to apply that learning. So workplace coaching and guidance and workplace learning are really important. But increasingly also, I think it's the jobs and skills of the future and helping people such as the return to workers, people who want to pivot their careers so that you have an opportunity to have everyone lifelong learning, provide opportunities for lifelong learning. We have a number of our more senior staff that have been doing a job for 15 years and they're a little bit fed up and you can just see the energy coming out of it. So you give them an opportunity to, what we say, develop adjacent skills and therefore they have a new career path. And all of that actually opens up a talent pool to you that traditionally might not have been there.
Mm. Alison, you highlighted this as a real issue that you see. What would you like to see done to improve the situation?
One of the things that we see is it's not just we're looking to recruit people at the high end. So typical employee of ours has a PhD in a science area and ideally a background in data analytics and AI. Now, these people are difficult to find. So admittedly, we do take people in, we do train them. But if you're working with companies as well, we don't just want to get into a position where we do something for a company. We need the companies then to be able to take things, to understand how the technology can be used, can take the emphasis in rolling it out across their businesses and in evangelizing. So I think there needs to be a far greater, it's not just training up a few people to do a particular technology job. There has to be a far greater emphasis on awareness of what the technology can help you do inside your business. And that's the kind of training I don't think that technology providers like ourselves are necessarily best placed to do. That needs to be something that's tackled on a much wider basis. So we need, I think ideally we need everybody in the UK to get to a stage where they're not scared of new technology, where they don't think that it's AI coming in and taking our jobs, or computerization, meaning that things are going to be worse. So we need a much bigger program, a much bigger cultural change, a much bigger acceptance of this is the way forward, and there's going to be benefits for everybody.
I mean, Lawrence, you said you don't have a skill shortage at UK Fast. You encourage people to, say this is a problem we have to sort ourselves. What do you think you've done differently at UK Fast to put you in that position?
So Elizabeth mentioned, people get to 15 years and they may feel a little bit, they need a bit more energy or a bit stale. We've got a 10-year club at UK Fast. We give people £10,000 in cash at the Christmas party, and I think we've got about 30 something, so we're giving over £300,000 away just in that club alone. So that helps to keep people, and it's really crucial because we've got PhD people who work at UK Fast, but we've taken an opportunity used that as an opportunity to think, well, if we don't develop them and let them now start to teach, the best way to become an expert is to teach. That's what I'm told. And so by my PhD, people who work for us are smart, clever than I am, but I would say if you unleash those into to the people who aren't maybe at their level, and you've got there's really senior, and I know it's difficult because you want to see their output and you want to make sure they're working as much as they possibly can. But if you allow people to take ownership and start to develop the teams within, great things happen. So, and I think we've got an education system right through every layer for old folk like me, right through to the 16-year-old kids that are coming through. It does work. It's proving it is working now. And we see the loyalty factor coming into play then, and we lose significantly less people than we did. About 7 or 8 years ago, I lost somebody to Facebook, and I realised that my competitors were no longer the people around Manchester, and I realised that my competitors were the people that were going to pinch my, great techies. And the guy they took wasn't even one of my best Linux guys. So I knew that we had a problem on our hands, and that's why I think we put huge amounts of energy into, we need to develop everybody. So I think, honestly, it's the only answer, because what happens if the outside world doesn't respond to what we want, what then happens? Well, we're all fighting for a much smaller and more, fishing in the same pond. So we have to take ownership and develop and grow these people.
I hit 10 years of Computer Weekly next year. I think I'm going to get a Bluetooth speaker for it, so it's not quite the same.
Honestly, I think genuinely, and that's not an uncommon story. I know you're having a joke, but I genuinely think that's shocking. And also, if they lost you, how would they replace you?
Oh, I tell them that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But you joke, but this is absolutely, you cannot replace. So you can swap out people, can't you? But imagine for every person, and we've lost some great talent, but imagine for every person that you managed to retain that you lost, if they still work for you, imagine how much stronger you would be as an organisation. And that's our business model, is just to try and retain and grow and develop.
Just remind you all, if you've got some questions for the panel, please put them in through Slido. If I'm using this thing right at the moment, I can't see there's any have come in yet. So please do take this opportunity to put some questions, and I'll put as many of those as I can to the panel before we leave the stage here. Moving on then from skills and talent, Alison there was touching on some of the core technology areas that you're looking for skills in, and everybody looks at a number of emerging technologies at the moment as being key sources for growth, things like AI, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, cloud, obviously, but with a very much strongly regional focus on your answers. What do you think are going to be the core technologies over the next 5 to 10 years that hold the most opportunity for economic growth in Manchester and the North? Elizabeth?
I'm going to give the short answer, and then I'm going to give an answer that will enable us to actually leverage those opportunities, if I may. Is that all right? Okay. So I think the ones that are the most mature and therefore the most accessible for where we are at the moment, provided there are some caveats, is location intelligence and the AI. I think there is a lot of hype around blockchain, and we are looking at some opportunities around that, but They're very expensive, it doesn't scale easily, and there are certain vulnerabilities still. So AI and IoT. So the three things that will enable us to actually leverage those opportunities for commercial advantage is, and some of these have come up previously, new innovation collaboration models. I understand the dynamics with startups, but not every organization that innovates is a startup, to illustrate the point we've been going 26 years. And being deeply embedded in a supply chain is hugely unattractive. So we need to look at corporate partnering, and we need to look at different collaboration models to allow people to contribute at the top table and directly their expertise, their skills, their technology. Number two is new business models. How can we actually commercialize and monetize what we're doing? How can it be made to scale, grow, and create export opportunities for Greater Manchester? Manchester, by the way, is the greatest exporting region in the UK. I'm an export champion for the Department of International Trade, and Greater Manchester and the Northern Powerhouse should be incredibly proud of that, and we should continue to champion those opportunities for growth and export. The third one is to allow us to actually develop these at scale and allow them to interoperate. So we need to look at what the Secretary for Health and Social Care, Matt Hancock, has just announced yesterday, and that is enablers that will allow platforms to be developed by a number of collaborators, universities, commercial partners, etc., based on open standards, based on interoperability, based on cloud, based on security, and user-centered services. And those are the things that will allow us to leverage those commercial opportunities.
Thank you. Alison?
Yeah, I think I broadly agree with almost everything you're saying, or with everything you're saying. I think the caveats are we should not be focusing on particular technologies. We can't say blockchain is the technology for the North, or AI is the technology for the North. I think you can waste an awful lot of time saying, well, I want to apply AI in my business, or I want to use this technology, where should I do it? We have to focus on what are the economic strengths of the region, what are the particular challenges, what are the barriers to achieving what we want to achieve, and then apply the appropriate technologies in the right place. So I think the biggest opportunity is probably in Industry 4.0. We can take all the expertise in projects, sensor projects, apply it across industry, bring in different technologies there. But to pick on a challenge which is going to deliver huge benefits for the region, and then say what skills, what expertise do we have here, what teams of people can we put together, and then to take the project forward and to look at what have we learned there and what other areas could we apply it to. Because I think we tend to have a very sectoral focus, whereas we need to be looking at developing a solution in one area and then transferring it out to something else.
Lawrence, if you were starting another new technology business in the North now, what would be the technologies you'd be focusing on?
We've started two this week. No, really. So one of the spin-offs we've done recently was DDoS X. So we've upgraded our network by almost 2,500%, and created a platform that competes with Cloudflare. And it's our first real venture out into, I suppose, away from the safety of our own network. Historically, when we built products, you have to be a customer to consume our products. So this is the first one we can actually go. We've built POPs in East and West Coast of America, but one just going in at the moment into Amsterdam. And we've got to put those further afield. DDoS is a serious thing now, and it's happening all the time. So we've got to protect our customers and protect the world. So I agree that it shouldn't be one technology. I just believe that we need to innovate. And so it would be difficult to predict what specific things we will create, because things take years to come through. However, I'd be happy to put a little bit of a bet that it will be security related, it'll be machine learning related. We're going in that way in a big way. And also, somebody also needs to try and create a monthly recurring revenue model for security that's affordable for the SME. Because at the moment, we own an ethical hacking business called Sakana, And we host, well, we hack for some of the biggest companies in the world. Most of the big companies we hack for all American. And the problem is the consultancy prices are going up very, very high. And they're getting frustrated and bored because they're bored of doing the same thing over and over again. So we need to find ways of automating a lot of this and making it affordable for the SMEs so everybody's protected and everybody's safe. So that's a huge opportunity for anybody who wants to think about where do we need to go next. You will always make money in that area because the supply and demand, there's way too many customers needing security and there are not enough companies being able to supply it. And this is one of the areas where you do have problems and, where we have problems, I suppose, where ethical hackers now, the pay increases across UK Fast, we've given a blanket 5% pay increase year on year for 19 years, which I know is great. But in our ethical hacking business, it's not uncommon to be giving out sort of 25, 30,000 pound pay increases across the board to all our consultants, just so we can keep up with the demand of the amount of work we've got. So I think security is going to be key for all of us, and it's something we all need to be scared of and mindful of, and spend time investing in.
I'll ask you one more question from me before I pick some of the audience questions very briefly. I'm sure you're all engaged to one degree or another with government, both regionally and centrally, in various different ways. But if there was one thing that you wanted government in its broadest sense to do that you think would be critical for the future prospects of digital economy in Manchester and the North, what would that one thing be, Elizabeth?
When you say government, you're talking regional government, or you're talking? Okay.
Whichever you'd like to choose it from. Government in its broadest sense. If you think the decision should come from regional, give us an answer from regional. If you think central, give us an answer from central.
Okay, so it's the same point, but two parts to it. Again, the issue and then how to implement it or how to execute it. It's having an innovation strategy. It's moving away from just procuring commodity to actually understanding value and how to actually how to work with people to create that value and how to procure it. So it's the whole concept of strategy for innovation plus also a strategy for procuring innovation and collaborating to deliver that innovation.
Okay, Alison?
For me, it's quite straightforward. I mean, for us, it's relatively easy to access funding for infrastructure. We get capital money, we can buy new computers, we can buy the latest technology, but it's much, much more difficult to access money, operating costs per people. So I would ask the government to invest more in people so we can go out and support businesses. It's not enough to build it and, people will teach themselves how to use the latest technology and how to adopt it. We have to be supporting that. Otherwise, the investment in the infrastructure, we don't realize the full benefits.
Lawrence?
I mean, I'd like to stop meddling with the economy, if I'm honest. And I think we're all a bit bored and a bit distracted. I'm a little bit nervous because of discussions like Brexit. We just want to get on with doing business and know what the rules are, and let's just play the game. But if I could influence them in any way, it would be with the schools. The problem we have can only be fixed if we change the way Ofsted work and we put significant investment into teachers. And we've got 5 full-time teachers in UK Fast. It's something that we do. We don't charge anybody for anything, but we do teach the teachers. And we've worked with 60,000 kids now in the Northwest area. And we'll get the teachers in and we'll get them excited about the new technologies and show them what's coming and how to measure and train and motivate their kids as well. That's the only area I think the government can really, really help. Will they do it? I don't know. And it will take years to come through. But unless, one of the ways, everybody would say that there is a shortage of skilled people. But then if you look at tech, there's a significant less number of young ladies coming into tech than guys. That's not right. And so we also need to work hard to get more women into STEM careers. And it can only be done if if we have more women coming in into business, and then we work with those schools to demonstrate that actually this is a cool subject to go to. We're lucky. I've got 50% women on my board of directors. I've got more than 50% women now in the senior management team. Women make great organisers. They hold us accountable. You know, they drive us potty at times at work. You know, with the speed that they'll work at. But at the same time, you need that. I think you need that sibling rivalry, almost like brother-sister rivalry in business, where there are differences between the way people work. And I think if we can encourage kids to come in and at an early age to see the enjoyment you can have in a tech business, we will immediately increase the number of people that will be available in the marketplace.
Let me ask you a couple of the questions that are coming from the audience, which, interestingly, are on that similar theme about how best to attract people. One of the questions makes the point, says, you know, whereas London, for example, tends to attract people from everywhere, from all across the UK and internationally, whereas historically, perhaps Manchester and the North has tended to attract people who are either already living here or have a connection to the North instead. Do you think enough is being done to encourage people from across the rest of the UK, from the south of the UK, and of course internationally, to come to Manchester and the North? You know, are in your businesses, are you finding success in attracting people from outside the region? And what do you think would work to try and attract people from broader geographies to come to this sort of area? Elizabeth?
Well, we've grown globally, so we are in a position that we can offer people international secondments. Michael has only recently just come back from a 2-year secondment in our Australian business, to illustrate the point. And also because Informed Academy is actually based out of our Manchester office. Every time we hire someone, and like you, all of our staff, we have more degrees in the company than we have staff. However, they still need to be trained. Then we actually bring them across to Manchester and they become familiar with this environment and they go back and they love it and they talk very, very positively, you know, to clients in, for example, in Australia and in Shell. We work with them in Holland, just came back from last week. And they all know of Manchester more than they know of our London office. And if you are able to offer, as a business, a differentiator to offer opportunities, working with different clients, working in different offices, working with global companies, it opens their mindset up. But what it does is it also brings it back into the region and it enriches our mindset here also.
Obviously, I'm Scottish, so I'm imported into the region. But yes, certainly when I came to work down here, after working in Edinburgh, it's much less international. So I've never worked extensively in London. So I think the key is to get people in. I think it's not just about the jobs, although I think having attractive jobs is important. I think it's improving all the other aspects of the infrastructure. You know, as we talked about earlier, things like travel, house prices are attractive. A number of our new staff have said, well, you know, I came back to Manchester because I knew I could afford a house there. So I think we have to think of what is the package. We're not just selling the jobs, we're selling the region, we're selling the opportunities. But we have to do a better sales job. You can't just sit back and say, you know, put a small advert in and hope that people will come. But I think the people that we have working here, the people from the Manchester area, are the best sales opportunities. So if people go out and about and enthuse about how great it is working here, then that's how we're going, the way that we're going to be able to attract more people in.
I'd agree with that, and we're very lucky. We've got some very good universities here, and universities are probably the biggest source of external talent coming into the city. It's then up to business leaders like yourselves and ourselves and everybody here to make sure that we create exciting opportunities for those graduates to say, you know what, I'm going to stay in Manchester. It's a brilliant city. It's an incredible city. I mean, obviously we're lucky with the weather today, but you know, and buildings like this, and there are lots of organisations that around Manchester that will help you create startups and, you know, give you reduced space at a reduced cost. It's one of the most giving cities I've ever been to, and I'm from Wales, and you know, I came here when I was 16, and you know, I was attracted by the music in those days and the music industry. but yeah, I couldn't leave. You know, and yes, it's got cheaper house prices, but it's also got world-class things as well. You know, you can get it's got an international airport. It is a brilliant platform. And so I suppose the biggest thing is by creating lots of successful businesses, and each time we attract another successful business into Manchester, there's more noise. And that's what we need, really. More success stories. And yeah, it's a brilliant place to do business.
Were you trying to suggest there the weather is not always like this here then?
Well, occasionally it's like
this. We're coming to the end of our allotted time, so I'll finish off with one slightly light-hearted one of the questions that came through. You know, but it has a relevance to it as well, because you know one of the important factors that's talked a lot about in terms of attracting skills, attracting people to companies or to regions, to the tech sector, to attracting women into tech and a more diverse workforce is the importance of role models. So the question that's come in says, if you had to send a Northwest super tech team to compete in the Tech Olympics in 2 years' time, who would it comprise of and why? Let me expand that out a little bit.
Sorry,
just
repeat the question again.
If you, where's it gone? If you had to send a Northwest super tech team to compete in the Tech Olympics in 2 years' time, who would it comprise of and why? Let me expand that out slightly to say, other than yourselves, if you could pick, pick role models for technology in the North, that would be the people who you would like to see going out and evangelizing the benefits of investment and talent coming into the North to promote the industry here. Who do you think that might be?
I'm going to be very practical because I think it's about walking the talk if you're going to go to the Olympics. So I would propose that we set ourselves a large innovation challenge, crack the problem, come up with an awesome solution, and whoever that collaboration team is, ship them out. And I don't think it matters whether you're a director or whether, I think it's got to, winning is a team sport. That's my proposal.
Alison, any role models you'd pick?
In terms of, I think we'd want a team that, we need to decide which challenge we're going for. We need to know that. I think we'd want a team that represents everything that's good about the region. I think obviously winning is important, but I think, taking part with a team that demonstrates all our strengths would be good. I don't think I could name any particular names, but let's say something representative of the region that reflects all our skills.
Lawrence?
Well, before I give you a list of names, we've sort of done something a little bit like this. It wasn't the Olympics, but it was DEF CON over in Las Vegas. And we, a little Manchester company, went over there against all the, I don't know if you know what DEF CON is, but it's the world's greatest hackers. Not a place you really want to go on this conference. It's the world's greatest hackers from all over the globe will descend on DEF CON. And then they're going to hack everything. And they'll do capture the flag games. And we sent a team out there from Sakama and we won 2 events. We're the only British team to win any event. It's not last year, the year before. Unfortunately, we didn't win any last year, but I may as well own up to that one. But this is just, to put this into perspective, this is a small Manchester company full of world-class people. And they are the unsung heroes. And unfortunately, it'd be difficult. I wouldn't want to also publicize everybody's names, but I've got a business full of amazing people. And I know my business isn't any different from your businesses out there. You've got businesses full of amazing people. So it's how do you bring them out? If you're talking about amazing leadership, wow, as a city, I look what Mahmood's doing with Boohoo, his son's doing a pretty little thing. Look at, competitors that I've had over the years that I've arm wrestled with, people like Scott Fletcher, fantastic businessman. Look at James Timpson. He's got 2,000 shops now. He took over from his dad and just more than tripled it. AO.com, John Roberts, what a phenomenal person. Noel McKee, you don't even know. Does anyone in here know who Noel McKee is? Amazing. I reckon one of the greatest entrepreneurs that has ever graced this planet. He set up Carcraft. He's below radar. He'll never do any press. You'll never find anything on the internet. Manchester is full of these exceptional characters. I could sit here and list them over and over and over again. We are, so yeah, if we're going to go to the Olympics, we're going to go and win. And, you know, I'm quite happy to, I've got a much bigger list if you want them.
Thank you for that. Lawrence Jones from UK Fast, Alison Kennedy from the Hartree Centre, Elizabeth Vega for Informed Solutions. Thank you all for being champions for the North. If you show your appreciation to the panel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sue, back to you.
Thanks, Brian, for chairing a wonderful session, wonderful discussion. I was supposed to be taking notes, but I was too busy listening to what I was hearing. So I hope you all enjoyed that. So we are nearly at the end of today. But before we close and have a well-earned networking drink, I'm just going to ask my colleagues, Matt Evans, Matt, if you're in the room, and Julian David, Tech UK's CEO, to just join me up here. We're just going to have a very quick chat. I realize I don't have a mic though. So, Sophie, is there a lapel mic I could? Oh, Brian, thank you. Guys, so just thought that we would just have a very quick chat just to close up the day. So, Julian, you know, but Matt, you just want to kind of introduce yourself.
Project as much as I can. I'll use the lapel. So my name's Matt Evans. I head up Tech UK's IoT and smart infrastructure programs, and transport is part of the smart infrastructure landscape for us at Tech UK. So it was great to have a cool session on mobility this afternoon as well.
We kind of didn't plan this, so our event manager is probably screaming at us. We'll ask Matt to join us as well because we've both been. You can hear me at the back, right? Yeah, either big enough now. Matt and I have been working. We've been working together with the Tech UK team on organising Supercharging this year. So, Matt, maybe just kick off with you. Given that we've been working on this for a while now, what's kind of stood out for you from today's discussion?
I think particularly in the transport track, it was just the acceptance that institutional structures are what's holding us back. It's not really the technology, it's about how we deploy them, and it's about how you get data flowing between different silos for us, really.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big sort of points from the mobility track in particular.
Yeah, I mean, we had similar in retail. Data came up, and I think we found this morning data is to me, is a common theme that's run throughout all of this. And even Jonathan with Transport the North was talking about opening up the data as well. Julian, what about you? What have you taken from today, or what's been some of your key takeaways?
So, this is work? No. It is, it isn't. It is. Okay. Excellent. I'll stop shouting then. I particularly was very struck the last session. We talked earlier this morning about our industry needs to be a producer of talent, not just a consumer of talent. And I thought all the others of the panel, but particularly Lawrence's, there is a problem. Something needs to be done about it. So I'll do something about it. And as an industry, and as a business, do something about it. And you think, well, how can you invest that? As you said, they were a relatively small business at the time. Did that investment, and now is able to sit there and say, I don't really have a skill shortage anymore, and I've got 1,600 people applying, and that's that's what needs to happen. So, us becoming a producer of talent is big. The second thing that really struck me was obviously data. So there was a lot of talk about data, the importance of data, and culture. And I would add to that confidence. So here's my challenge to Manchester. I've heard some fantastic things today, but still a little bit of, are we really good enough to go for it? Are we really, talking to Rowena, you've got all this devolution. Are you driving it? Are you making something of it? I still get the feeling that, people aren't quite going for it. And I think if we did, then I really do think the opportunity to do everything is here, because there's so much more opportunity of concentration of authority, concentration of business, concentration of investment that could come here.
I mean, Matt, I was quite struck with, I mean, Rowena was talking about the energy in the room this morning, but I got real sense of that today, right? I mean, it's just feels a really positive vibe here.
Yeah, and I'll plug our fantastic hosts as well at this point. I mean, it's a great building to have this conference, and we've been really lucky to have Supercharging's in its third year. We've been really fortunate to have fantastic venues, but I think this one's the best in terms of bringing people together. It's just a great space, and I think sort of, you know, we shape our environment, but it also shapes us, and I think having these sorts of collaborative spaces really helps drive engagement, both within the tech sector and importantly between the tech sector and those that are looking to adopt digital technologies. So I think these things really, really do make a difference.
Yeah, I think we've had a good gender balance as well here, which for me that I always look out for at events, so that's really good. So maybe just closing thoughts, Julian, anything? What's your...
So I think what I would come back to is the opportunity that's here, and some of the lessons that we've heard during today. Again, I was very struck by the TfL pitch on how they worked out something that was needed and used, and they questioned process. Why do we have tickets? Well, we've always had tickets. No, they didn't used to have tickets. They put them in to stop the conductor stealing. That's what he said, not me. But they don't need to do that. So why don't you eliminate a whole process? And I do think that's something that we all fall prey to, is we've done something like this for some considerable time, and we keep looking through that lens. So challenging that, I think challenging our bullshit as well. If I it's the end of the day, isn't it? We're all about to get a drink, and we're not being live streamed anymore, are we?
Well, if we
okay. So in the retail session, because I did some of the transport session, and then I popped over to the retail session. There was a great thing for, I think it was Caroline, wasn't it? Was moderating, asking which phrase or expression, buzzword, you know, you hate, and I loved it. There were obvious ones that came up, but what I liked was the one where it said data science. Oh, well, that's wrong, surely. I mean, data science is what it's all about, isn't it? But of course, what the speaker was highlighting was the way we use it to describe everything, and it becomes a sort of catch-all. And I do think that's a very interesting, you know, challenge yourself, not just the way you do things, but also the way you think about things and the way you talk about things, you know, so that we don't have too much hype.
So very finally, so unfortunately the event is nearly over, but it continues on our podcast, right? So you've been busy.
It does. So I've been busy with our producer, Alice Jackson over there, developing a podcast. So podcasts are relatively new for Tech UK. We've got into it a little bit late, but we're making up ground quickly. So do keep an eye out and ear out for the podcast when it comes out later this month.
Great. Well, on behalf of everyone at Tech UK, back to the mic so I don't scream and shout. Is that better? So, but on behalf of Julian, Matt, myself, all the Tech UK team, thank you so much to all our speakers and our moderators for being with us today. We couldn't be here without our sponsors and supporters as well, that I'd like to just say thank you for. So Pure Storage, Accenture, M247, Cisco, our venue sponsors, Manchester Science Partnership, and I think Echo Matt, all the Bright Building staff. I mean, it's just been awesome today. So thank you. Our industry partners for the day, British Retail Consortium and the Institute of Civil Engineers, who we're really thrilled to have partnered with here at Tech UK. Our media partners, so Brian at Computer Weekly, thank you, and Essential Retail, all our demos. And I think Matt and I particularly would just like to thank, if we can, all the Tech UK staff that are here, who have worked so hard in the background to make today such a great success, organizing sessions, running around after Matt and I, tweeting, running Slido, making sure the day runs so smoothly, particularly Sophie Kane, our event manager. Sophie, thank you so much. So with that, I really thoroughly enjoyed being your compere for the day. I hope you've had fun too. It's not over just yet. As you can see, we've got some networking drinks for you to enjoy. Last chance to go and look at the demos. Please tweet before you leave and say what a fantastic day you had. #Supercharging18. We really hope you've had a wonderful day. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you all again soon in Manchester. Have a drink, have a safe journey home. Goodbye and thank you.